episode.
This meeting is being recorded.
Welcome to another episode of Women Who Lead. And thank you so much for all of you who are loyal watchers and followers of the show and our newest podcast. I am honored today to have with me three dynamic leaders who own and operate some of the most successful companies within the network and range in the markets they serve, as well as size and longevity in the business. My name is Teresa Palacios Smith, and I'm Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer for HomeServices of America. And I'm the host of the series, of which is a passion for me, because when we get together with powerful industry leaders, we share their insights over un cafecito, which is very common in the Latino culture. That's a little coffee time, right? So I can't wait for you to meet today our exceptional owners who lead with compassion, with strength and determination, and are known for their grit and their perseverance. So with me today is Chris Farkas. Chris is the broker owner of Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices Bayside Realty, which is located in the coastal town of Bellingham, Washington. Chris has over 14 years of experience in the real estate industry, and we're going to hear a little bit more about it because prior to that, she had actually 15 years experience in real estate as well. Chris is a former veteran serving as an officer in the U.S. Air Force. Wow, that's really impressive. She's fluent in Russian, which she learned during her time of service in the Defense Language Institute. I'd like to learn more about that. Chris recently completed the Vancouver Marathon in British Columbia because she's an avid runner, and she supports local youth by volunteering for a group called Girls on the Run and also Women in Business with organizations like She Leads Me. She's also on the board of a community disaster preparedness program. Pretty impressive. Tiffany McLemore. Tiffany is the broker owner of Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices, McLemore and Company Realty, which is located in the greater Memphis area. She has over 20 years of experience in real estate and has served in various areas of the industry, including as a corporate relocation director, which we also have in common, Tiffany. That's something I worked in as well. In March of 2020, Tiffany and her husband, David, who co-owns the company, decided to start their own company after their mentor of over 20 years retired. And by the way, a little thing happened in 2020, in case y'all remember, forgot it was the pandemic, right? But they still started and they became part of the HomeServices brand with Real Living, starting only with 6 agents. And today they've grown over 40 agents and are opening their second office with Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices. Tiffany and David also have a home building company called McLemore Home Builders, and they love real estate, but their main passion is their 14-year-old son, Whit. Welcome, Tiffany, to the show. And then Gretchen Pearson. Gretchen is the CEO and president of Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices Drysdale Properties. With a dynamic real estate career spanning over 3 decades, Gretchen's professional experience has included roles as an agent, as an office manager, and a senior corporate executive. In November of 2005, Gretchen decided to open her first real estate office in San Ramon, California, with the belief in the American dream and a mantra of we help people get what they want. The company has grown at a phenomenal rate and has been acknowledged as California's fastest growing full service real estate company almost every year of their existence. As of 2019, Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices Drysdale Properties has grown to over 1,600 agents in 42 offices serving the Northern California and Nevada area. And I know that you also opened a brand new office we're going to talk about in a few minutes as well. Gretchen has been named by the San Francisco Times as one of the most influential businesswomen in the Bay Area. She's received numerous awards, including Women Entrepreneur of the Year, the top 200 most powerful and influential residential real estate brokerages for the Swan Pool T360. And within the BHHS family, her company is recognized as the 13th largest in the network worldwide. Gretchen is the founder of the Drysdale Community Foundation, which is a nonprofit organization entirely funded by the agents in the company, which give funds to charities who are dedicated to improving the lives of others. She's very active with the Special Olympics and is also proud to serve on the Northern Nevada and California boards. And I also know, Gretchen, that you're also a cancer survivor. So, wow, this is just amazing. I'm so impressed with your background and a huge, huge avid admirer of you. So let's get started. I am so excited. Welcome to all of you. I'm really always one of the questions that I ask every single individual, because I'm always wondering how you got started in real estate. Was it by chance or by choice? And I'll start with you, Tiffany. Tell me a little bit how you got into real estate.
I would say it was kind of by chance. I was a school teacher by trade. I taught second grade for a number of years in the city of Memphis, and decided, at the time I didn't have any kids and got to summer, and I was like, I just bought my first house and thought being a realtor looked pretty fun. So I got my real estate license thinking I'd just pick it up and do it, during the summers, then go back to teaching. And after about a month or two of doing it, I really kind of got a passion for it. And even though I was happy teaching, some doors opened, and there, I ended up going into real estate. And from there, I got my license, sold a few houses, and the owner of the company ended up hiring me to be its corporate relocation director. So I helped grow that business. And after a few years of that, ended up a broker, and did that for, a number of years. And then we decided to open our company.
You would not, maybe you'd be shocked but I know so many people that are teachers that transitioned over into real estate. It makes so much sense, because if you love teaching, that's part of what we do, right? As realtors, we teach others the process of home buying, because it is the biggest investment that somebody will do in their lifetime. How about you, Chris?
Well, I got into real estate right after I got married 30 years ago. My husband and I bought fixers and fixed them up and flipped them. And then we got into construction, luxury construction, spec building. And then that led to some buying properties that had development potential. So we did a few developments, and this was all back east when we lived in South Carolina. Afterwards, when we moved back to the west, I started investing in real estate. And that was right about 2007, 2008, which wasn't the best time. But what that led me to was I was part of a real estate investment network. And so I had all these investors asking me to help, because let me go back I wanted to access the MLS as an investor. So I became a real estate broker. And it wasn't to sell at first. But then these investors were approaching me, asking me to help them short sell their homes. And so my first year in real estate was probably one of my best years in real estate, because I found the way to be successful, and you needed to be either a foreclosure expert or a short sale expert. So the first 2 years of my real estate career, I probably closed 150 homes because of being a short sale expert. So that is how I got into real estate.
One thing that Alan Dalton always says is that no matter what time it is in the season, and Gretchen, I know you're going to talk about this in a minute, but that it's always opportunistic, no matter where, right? Even Warren Buffett says there's always an opportunity to invest in real estate during good and bad times, and to really succeed. It's just really knowing how and when to get into it, right? And what to do in the process. And Gretchen, you definitely have shown us all, you've, this business and the longevity, because you have really succeeded in good times and in bad times. So tell me a little bit about how you got in real estate.
Thank you very much. I'm honored to be on here. I was blessed. It was by chance. I was a 22-year-old recent graduate and went to work thinking I was fancy pants for a company in San Francisco in the city. And it was a redevelopment company who had just built 880 Section 8 units using San Francisco city money. So smart all which ways around. And I was just the clerk that had to do all the certification every month on these 880 units. And I had really kind of my ear pulled when literally the first of the month, the mailman came with 2 bags of government checks. And I said at that point, I was engaged. I wasn't even married yet. I said, babe, I'm going to get to work to get my license. And I went to community college at night. Can you believe that? Because we didn't have internet. That's how old I am. And we did that. And really the intention just was very modest. And I laugh now. But the intention is that I was going to be a part-time real estate agent, and I would make enough sales to buy a couple of investment properties, and we'd go along life happily ever after. And that's how we came into it. And I fell in love with it. And just as you said, I've enjoyed pretty much every part of it. But also, you know what? There's a thing called tomorrow. So we've done okay, but there's a thing called tomorrow. So don't curse us, and knock on wood. Particularly you know that in this business.
Well, yeah. What is that secret to your longevity? Because I know it's so true. And we kind of before we got together before and we talked about how the season. So tell me that secret to longevity in this business, because you know, those that get into it really love it and are passionate about it, even in bad times.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the best thing about this business, and if you look, probably all of us on this call are very bright, and typically people are very bright because they have ADD, and it's a curse and it's the best thing. And so real estate's perfect for all of us. And, you know, the more that we can dive in and learn things and more, and lots of times I've seen, you all know this with your agents, they seem to be, well, at least company initiatives, change adverse. So I've conditioned that real estate agents by nature are change averse, and that's why they do change through everyone else. They put them in other houses and move them around. But I think that that's where you come from. It is what is still enjoyment for you, what is true to your north, what is the passion. And fundamentally, I didn't start, Dan and I've been talking, Dan's my husband and run right alongside with me. We didn't start by saying we were, as I said, going to build a brokerage to it. When we did go out and move towards the full absolute entrepreneurial element of opening a brokerage, we had very modest there. All I wanted to do was open a brokerage that was a cool place for all my cool friends I'd met in the business to buy and sell for their own account. That was my mission statement when I started in 2005. So I guess that means, I think we've got now with the Trish and everything, I think we've got about 1,200 agents. So I guess I got 1,200 friends that are real cool that are buying and selling on their own account. That was the mission. So.
Wow. And, you know, that's the secret sauce to success, right? Even when you open the business, because you said you've been in it for a long time, being a cool place to work and that culture that you create is really what makes things happen. So I commend you on that. So tell me a little bit, and I know with your experience, anyone that wants to answer this call, what is it that we see coming down the pipeline? You know, because you talk about disruptors in the industry and all of the different things that are challenges for our industry. What are some of the things that people need to be aware of coming down the pipeline? And whoever wants to answer that. Anyone? Gretchen, you want to take that one?
I think it's a time frame horizon, you know, and for me, certainly as leaders, and that's why we're on the call, appreciate it. We need to be looking out further down the horizon. But as we were talking about on the prep call, the problem is if it's not right in front of the agents, they don't really too much want to hear about it. And that's why trust is so important, that they know as leaders of all of us that when they really need to pay attention, you know, we will grab them and they will let us. But, you know, we're out getting intrigued and excited because it may be a new thing. We talk, you know, whether it be whatever for our each market and our each company, it may be something, you know, that's special. We get all excited. And I said, they're not, if it's not broke, so they don't like change, and I don't need it right now. So I got too many other things. And so it's interesting. So short term, you know, the market, we're in a mini market across the nation. It is just a mini market. Agents who have cash flow issues, you're going to have to either figure out attrition strategies, payback strategies, depends upon your size. You know, I know these ladies don't with their size, they can, you know, take care of it. But there's people with cash flow issues. That presents the opportunity if you are in a growth mode, because most of the brokers may have a cash flow issue as well. And that be either small, it's relative, whether it's small or large, it's relative. So
Well,
there's
and the one thing that Gino says all the time is that, being prepared, understanding your market, and also realizing, that you need to make the cuts. We need to make cuts and cut out the expenses that you don't need during this time. And that's critical, even in your personal life, things that are not needed, get rid of them. And if you go through, there's a lot of things that are on auto pay. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I have auto pay on all these things. And I go back and I'm like, what was I thinking? Go in and just cut those out, because that's going to be saving you quite a bit of money as we look at tightening our belt. But real estate is always available, because there's always going to be people buying, selling, divorcing, marrying, downsizing, upsizing, kids, marriages. There's always opportunity. When I bought my first house, it was at 9.5% real interest. I don't know about anyone else. That's how high the interest rates were. So there's always opportunity for us to get into this market and to buy and to sell. All right, let's kind of pivot over to personal, because I really want to get down and learn more about your personal backgrounds. So, let me ask you both, Chris and Tiffany, what advice do you wish someone had given you years ago that would have helped you in your leadership pursuits? I'll start with you, Chris.
I heard something last night. I went to a walk with a women in business meeting, and the topic was the imposter syndrome. And something that was said, I wish I would have heard so many years ago, is the only relationship that matters is the relationship you have with yourself. So once you understand that, the world, the sky's the limit for you. You can do anything, because you don't care about other people judging you. You don't care about people telling you can't make it. You're not comparing yourself to everybody else. So your baseline is the power within you and what you can do. So I spent years letting the imposter syndrome or other people holding me back and not relying on myself.
Wow. Very insightful, and totally agree with you, Chris. And even I think with your background in the military, that also kind of fell into, because I hear it from so many individuals that served and women in the military, right? With that background, am I good enough? Especially because you're always judged there. I think that's very, again, an eye opener. How about you, Tiffany?
Well, I definitely can relate to everything Chris said. And I also think, discovering what your strengths are early on. I think I tried to do a little bit of everything. And sometimes when you are doing things that aren't really your strengths, you may not be enjoying them as much. Also being not so good at delegating early on. So as I've spent more time figuring out what I'm good at, and then, trying to get the right people on the bus and then in the right seats, that's been a little bit of a learning curve, but it's made life a lot better and a lot more rewarding, because you're not having to push yourself to do, like, I don't have an accounting background. So to me, to have to sit and, stare at QuickBooks all day is not what I want to do. But learning what people in my organization are good at, and then delegating, and then also being able to help my agents figure that out too.
It's not the best use of your time,
Right.
Focus on what you do well and let others focus on what they do well. I think that's great advice as well. As a teacher, I think that is something that I found. My teacher that I had, one of the teachers that I had, said to me, Teresa, this is what you're good at, so focus on that. And so I really always felt proud of her advice for me, because it really has helped in what my pursuits have been. How about you, Gretchen? What's the biggest risk that you have ever taken?
Oh, I think it was absolutely going out. And we'll go back when Chris was getting hired, doing all kinds of stuff in 2007 and 8. We had started the company in 2005 in California, and pretty much the rest of the nation. We were just happily dancing around, and it was just a lovely time in real estate. And 2007 came, and as a business owner, I had in those two years, 2005 to 2007, was the broker and was trying to do ground up a de novo and starting the company. And really, to your point about Gino and all, got expenses out in front of revenue. And 2007 hit and was really faced with, I got to shut down this dream and really my family's financial legacy. And it was, we had invested into it, or need to make it happen, get more serious about it, and, take it as what it could be. And that was the scariest point. And I remember, really, we said had 5 locations and 25 agents. Stupid. Yes, not much. We were running pretty thin, but, I just needed to go call and talk to every single person I could, whether I had anxiety about who they were, maybe part of the imposter, or that I wasn't good enough, or what I was doing, or they didn't want to hear, or I didn't know them, or whatever story. It didn't matter, because I felt as though that my family, we were in a great spot to invest. We had done the real estate investing, and they were now investing into me and my dream. And so, and which was ours. It wasn't just mine, it was ours. But at that time, I felt the weight. And so that was the scariest. And that was when then we had the best, like I said, in that turmoil time. That's why I like this mini market again. That's when we were able to be this little dandelion that came up, that broke through the sidewalk that had been cracked because of, at that time, the short sales and all the economic turn. It was our only opportunity. So thank God.
Wow. Very scary times, right? But realizing that what you did mattered and connecting with those folks, I think really is so important. And one of the things that today is also going to be critical for our agents who are nervous, if they're nervous, right, about, the industry and what it takes, and learning new things that you have to learn in order to persevere. How about you, Tiffany? What risk have you taken, and Chris as well?
Well, I would say we started a home building company in 2007, right before everything really.
Whoa!
It's like the lights turned off overnight. I had just had my son. He was I guess 2008 was when it really got bad here, but he was about a year old. And so we had lots of spec homes on the ground, and, lots. So it was, to say the least, not a fun time. And then, coming back to in 2020, we started our real estate company, March of 2020, right at COVID. That was another like, oh no, this can't, the timing can't be
happening again, right?
Yeah. But you learn a lot going through difficult times. And luckily in March of 2020, we like you mentioned, we went from 6 agents to about 40. We've got great people. And we try to really just keep our focus on, you mentioned there's the distractions in the industry, and it's very easy to get, distracted by the next shiny penny, but we try to keep the focus with our agents and with us too on what our core values are, and keeping, not letting them get distracted by every little new thing that comes out.
Wow. When you know the why, the how becomes easy, right?
Yeah.
I love that. How about you, Chris?
Yeah, I thought about that, and I really want to be authentic and real here, and want to give the probably most challenging or the biggest risk I've ever taken. I've taken many, but definitely the biggest risk was deciding to start a Real Living, but opening up a major franchise with a partner who just decided that he didn't want to be married to me anymore. So we started the company separated, and I lost lots of sleep just trying to decide if this is something I could do. And how do I get past trauma to growth? Because I enjoy working with Mike, my husband. He's a great partner, but through it all, I came back to a quote I heard from Albert Einstein. And it's, you can treat every day like a miracle, or you can treat every day like it's not a miracle. And I chose like it's a miracle. And how do I get myself to a point where I'm acting like every day is a miracle? And it's been a wonderful experience. My husband, Mike, supports me, and we're able to get past any personal issues to grow a wonderful company and just work on ourselves and our strengths and leadership. And it helped me learn how to become a person who can run a company on my own and believe in myself that I could, to be in fabulous growth mode we're in right now. And if I wouldn't have made that decision then to start Real Living at that point, I would not have the skills, the strength to grow the company that I'm growing right now, this amazing company that is limitless. It's amazing.
Oh, Chris, thank you for sharing. It really just tears me up, because that had to be such a challenge, right? You go in with an idea in mind, and then all of a sudden it's disrupted, right?
Right.
And so,
And I was able to hide it from my agents. I mean, they're watching this now, so we never talk about it. Nobody ever talks about it, but that's great. And
yeah, it's what people go through every day, right? That you don't know
right.
sometimes.
And I wanted to share that because I know other women out there probably struggle with making decisions during hard times, and you can count on yourself. When you count on yourself, you can make great things happen.
Wow, I love that. I love it. So, again, I can't tell me a little bit about personal sacrifices, because we've all made them. And I know, Tiffany, you really, that question kind of really touched you. What personal sacrifices have you had to made during your career?
Well, I think, being a business owner, going from, I was in an employee role in a management role for a number of years, and then going to owning my own business, you really have a bit of a mind shift change, because you're not just in charge of one department. You don't go home and know that, the world's just going to keep going. So there's a lot of responsibility when you own your own company and you're making payroll and problems come up. So, I'd say and my husband and I both, own the company and have a home building company. So I would say our sacrifice it's a family sacrifice. We're all in. We have a 14-year-old, well, he just turned 15 yesterday, but 15-year-old son who could probably tell you about just about as much going on in both companies. And, he knows our agents, he knows the homeowners that we're building houses for. It's definitely, it's not a 9-to-5 job. So it's something that everybody has to be on board for, and love it. And he made a joke to me one day that it was a good thing I liked houses. Talk about them a lot. So, it's even though it's been a sacrifice as far as some of our time, it's also been something that's, can bond you together. And, yes, we're on the phone a lot and we take a lot of phone calls and those kind of things, but we try to make the most of our time when, we do turn our phones off occasionally. So.
Oh, wow. That's so true for all of those realtors that are in the business. Gretchen, I know you can relate to that because you have 3 children.
I do.
And tell us a little bit about that.
Well, none of them want to be in the business. I dragged them all through too, Tiffany, and they all went the other way. I think, for me, what I would say it's this finesse of, for us being good and being leaders and being in this industry where we get so entirely engulfed. And, what I've learned is that it is, for me, the opportunity, particularly to lead in this industry, whatever the role is, it is because of the makeup where there really is not supposed to be much politics, although as women, we've felt some glass ceiling. It's a test tube of human nature. That's what we get to see, is we get to see humans in a opportunity almost at their natural peace. And so we get to have so much, long way around to what I'm going to say is that we get to have very much a lot of impact at the individual level. And so we start to take identity in that and the things that we accomplish. And, you know, when you ask what is something I would have told a younger me, is not to get caught in it, in the way of, this is the great promise of real estate, is that it is a means to a great ends. And they don't have to be a start and a finish. You can live a great life while you're doing, you know, great things to it. But lots of times I've found, as I'm, you know, reflecting back and bringing up other leadership in the company and how do I feel about that? And ooh, you know, what is it? Is that you find identity in that, because it is all engulfing. It's your heart, because you've done it through passion. You've certainly worked hard to be a top pro. And so we take that identity. And the reality is that this business is a means to having a impactful life at all different levels. And whether it's the agents we're talking to, the communities that we're in, or our own families. And that's the piece I want to talk about. And that the sacrifices can't be there. There can be in time, but to be able to live the life you want, to create the income that you want, do it how you want. I mean, that's what we're doing here.
And what a great industry to be in, right? Because we
only
do
one
impact, right? Home became probably, for the first time, I think it's always been a critical piece, but for the first time during COVID, people realized really truly what home meant and why it was important, right? For us to have that space, you know, and depending on what we could afford, to just have our own little thing that we could call our own. You know, I know you kind of talked about this already, Gretchen, but what would you say to your younger self, you know, and Tiffany and Chris, about today? Like, what would you say to your younger self that you've learned, and advice that you would give your younger self?
Well, some of it I certainly would say, you know, let yourself off the hook a bit. Right. And that, to where Chris said, is believe in yourself. I mean, you took the actions. I took the actions to believe in it. And then I'm going to play a head game with myself. Right. So I went forward, but then, you know, just as Chris is talking about, learning and building strength and getting some of those voices out. But I would just say in the same, that don't forget what this industry is. It has the world's greatest promise. It is the best industry in the world. And that we as women know how to be very effective at wringing out every single thing, whether it's our time, whether it's a budget, wring out every single thing you can out of this industry, and
Beautiful.
think big.
Beautiful. Tiffany.
I love what she just said about think big, because I do remember, you know, just when I got into the business, I was about 23 years old, and I was very shy. I can remember being at, you know, some of the first sales meetings, and I'd talk about a new listing and my face would turn about 15 shades of tomato red. And I can remember kind of thinking small, that, you know, that I was in this particular role, and I, you know, never would have dreamed of owning my own business at that time. Just going from an employee as a school teacher to, you know, being self-employed was a huge risk for me. So, you know, when I think about new agents that I'm mentoring, or, you know, even my own son, I do want to encourage people to dream big and not to be afraid to take risk, and learning from your failures is huge, because I've certainly had plenty of them. And as long as you're learning from them and reflecting, and then coming back and, you know, making yourself better, I think that's really important, instead of just being afraid to fail.
Failure is how you learn, right? That's what makes you better, right? And stronger. Chris, how about you?
My younger self, when I first started in real estate, I would tell myself, this is a relationship business. This is a heart business. If you lead with your heart and soul, instead of, like when I was younger, I felt like I had to compete all the time. I felt lack. I felt like I had to prove myself. But if you can relate to people on a heart level, that comes back. It's the energy that you're generating. If you're generating energy of lack, you're gonna struggle. You're gonna scrape by and go from deal to deal, and just again wonder how you're gonna pay the bills. But if you go with it at heart, yeah, that's what the advice I would give my former self and my agents. It's all about relationships.
So true, which is something Christy Budnick talks about. I'm going to give her a shout out, and Alan Dalton and Gino. This is not about transactions. It's about relationship building. And that's how you really help get to the heart of somebody's home, right? Because that's the critical piece. I love that.
That's what drew me to this
industry,
franchise.
right? Thank you. And to the franchise, right?
The forever agent. I didn't know. I don't feel like I could do real estate until now, because that's the key right now. That's the key for the future, I think.
Yeah, and the philosophy right behind our brand.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. Now, who has made the biggest impact in your career, professionally or personally? Either one. I know, there's mentors, some people you mentor. So tell me, starting with you, Gretchen, who has made the biggest impact in your career? Either way.
I would say, it has been really the feel, even though we're, quite a bit larger, was my very first broker. I was with a Century 21, and it was female. Loretta Parker, shout out, by the way, during COVID. Loretta Parker is now up in Oregon, still selling real estate. Her son and daughter-in-law, talk about circles, are with us, Berkshire Hathaway Drysdale.
Oh, wonderful.
So generational things to it. Just as a shout out to Loretta Parker, and the great piece of this business, you can work as long as you'd like to. I think she's close to the 80 level. I'm not going to say it. We talked about age, and she called me last year during COVID and let me know that she was her top producer in her office, and she sold over 70 in Oregon. This is a thing. Pot lots.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So she is in the cannabis business as a close to 80-year-old. So that gives you, I tell that story just to give her a shout out and a flavor. She said a brokerage, we were very competitive, but it was co-opetition. We had fun inside that brokerage, and it was about, Chris, as you're talking about, it was about relationships. We had sales contests where we went on trips. And she just made it fun, and she did still teach that it was about sales, and she taught about investing. And so we have tried to do that. Many of those folks that went on trips all the way back in 1986 and all are with us now. Shout out to all y'all, and don't ever talk about the cruise to Mexico.
What's happened in Mexico stays in Mexico, right? Yeah. I love it. And that's so true. Like Ali Beth Allman, I was with her last week. She's a well-known icon in the industry, and she's selling real estate just, Gretchen, like you're saying your mentor was, and amazing. She was the number one in her company. Just amazing that she's still doing that. How about you, Chris?
Can I give an organization?
Sure, absolutely.
I started taking classes and learning through this organization called Excellence Northwest that ended up becoming Excellence Seminars International, because we combined our local area with Canada. So it's all about a series of basic level all the way to graduate level classes on personal accountability, getting rid of filters that you create in your life that hides your real self, and just how to become authentic. And it's now I'm taking the Brave Leadership classes that go with that. And I got to say, I would not be the growth level I am right now without that organization.
Oh, wow. We'll put the
And-
name of the organization in our notes so people who are interested in learning more about it will be able to access it. It's called Excellence International.
Excellent Seminars International.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you, Chris. Tiffany, how
You're
about you?
I would have to say Doug Collins was my mentor. I started with him when it was Prudential Collins Mari. He
Yes.
taught me everything from like how to pull comps to getting me started in relocation. One thing that I really appreciate about his leadership was if there was something that he thought I had a talent or, potential in, he invested, in me to go to different educational, meetings and trainings and things like that. And he's also very good at pushing people to, not be complacent and kind of get out of your comfort zone. And Chris mentioned being authentic. He's very authentic in the way that he cared about his agents and cared about his employees. And so, and he was also my husband's mentor because he had a home building company. So ironically, he kind of molded us in a lot of ways. And now that we have our own company and he's retired, there's a lot of times that we'll reflect and think, I wonder what Doug would do in this instance. And so little nuggets of wisdom that I maybe didn't realize I was absorbing all the time, but it definitely was.
And I can't believe it. We're getting to our almost being done. So I'm going to ask y'all two more questions. We all look back and think, is there something that I would have done differently in the career span that we're in? And this can also be impersonal and also as professionally. So think back, is there anything that you would have done differently in your pursuits of leadership or in your, again, personal or professional career? And I'll start with you, Chris.
Goes back to some of the things I've been saying earlier, and that is, don't give so much of myself away. Save some for myself, for my family. Again, act from abundance instead of lack, and you're back from your heart.
Love it. Tiffany?
I would say maybe not letting my identity get so tied up sometimes in what it is that you're doing, whether it's, when I was a relocation director or a broker or even an owner, that there's still, life outside of work, and that you're still Tiffany. You don't always have to be Tiffany, the broker owner or whatever, but just kind of having a separation there.
I like that, because you are Tiffany at work, Tiffany, there's different people. Sometimes it's hard to separate it, especially when we're 24/7, right? That's
Right.
our business. People don't realize that we work 24/7, and we truly do. We're always on call. Gretchen, how about you?
Ask me again. Let me see. I started going off thinking this is a hard question. How am I going to answer it? So ask me again, Teresa.
Yeah. What would you do differently? What would you do?
I think these ladies are right. The identity, you get so caught up in it. But I would say I just have a knowing. And so enjoy it a bit more. No, this comes down to you. And it comes down to that, not black and white in choices. You can have gray and you can make decisions. It comes to you, and that you're completely capable. And so enjoy the ride, maybe a bit more. I think also, I had the other piece, I thought of some of the lessons as we talked about tuition. I know that a lot of people saw me grow up from 22 years old to how I am now. And I know they've given me latitude. I wish I'd figured out either personal space or softness maybe a few years ago, but always room to learn. So.
Well, and you've been, people don't realize it because you were top 40 under 40. I remember you have really been so successful in this industry. So Gretchen, kudos to you, and thank you for that advice as well. And the last question I always ask, because I'm always interested, and you can either give me several or whatever you prefer, books. I am not a book reader. I've never been a book reader, and because I ADD, I just can't stay with the book, but I love Audible. So I've learned, Gino taught me Audible, and I've loved the fact that there's so many great books out there. Is there a certain book that you would recommend that's really helped you in your career, whether it's personal or professional, motivational, whatever book, advice that you might give, or quote that that you think that people would want to take away with, and that resonates with you, that you live by? And Tiffany, I'll start with you.
Well, I've got a quote and a book. The quote, and I just actually ran across this the other day and it kind of resonated. It's work is hard, distractions are plentiful, and time is short. So I thought that was, especially the time is short thing, time flies and you just have to live in the moment and enjoy it. And a book that I've read that I always suggest our new agents read is The Go-Giver. Really good book, short, easy read. And I'm like you, I'm an Audible person too.
That is one of my favorite books. I love The Go-Giver. It really does help agents understand that it's not about me, it's about you, right?
Yes.
And so I love that. Chris, how about you?
I'm also an Audible person, and I'm a multitasker. So I listen to Audible while I run, and I get a lot of books read that way. And my favorite book is The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. The Four Agreements being: be impeccable with your word, don't take anything personally, don't make assumptions, and always do your best. And that's a relative thing, wherever you are. Sometimes your best may not be the same as your best tomorrow, but always do your best. So amazing book. Amazing
I haven't read that book. That's amazing. I definitely will
read
pick
it
that one
every year. That's how important it is to me.
Oh, wow. The Four Agreements. Okay,
Four Agreements,
great.
Don Miguel Ruiz.
Oh,
And
a Latino to boot.
And he has a few books that he's written since then that are follow-on. So it's a great series to read. And then I'm going to leave you with a quote that has touched me deeply and has helped me grow. Is only when you are brave enough to explore the darkness can you discover the infinite power of your light.
Oh, wow. I like that. I like that quote. Repeat it one more time. Only
when you're brave enough to explore the darkness can you uncover, or can you discover the infinite power of your light.
Wow.
And I believe I heard that in a Brene Brown book that I read.
Oh, I love that. Very cool. And Gretchen, we're going to leave it with you.
You want me to follow that? Chris, thanks so much. I have learning disabilities, and so I am always Audible. I don't read very well, to be honest. And I have two books that I was taught early on. You talk about mentors, and by the way, I should have thrown Gino on there. I mean, the teacher shows up when you need him. Gino helped our company talk about expense reduction, scared me so bad in pandemic, it saved our company, and Dave Colmar and a bunch. But I would say that I foundationally early on was introduced to Stephen Covey's work, and I try to start that as my foundation. And then when I really look to try to cause growth inside myself, I refer and read multiple times The Slight Edge, and just try to gain a little bit at a time. And the quote that I love the best, and whether it's for your personal kids or whether these agents or managers or folks that you come into, is the best gift that someone can give someone is roots and wings. And that's what I hope is when we meet folks, for them to be rooted and feel good always, that it's safe to have a relationship with me, but also go do whatever's there.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that. I've not heard that one. So that's a great quote, Gretchen. And all of you, I really have had such a great time spending time and learning more about each of you. I want to give a special thanks to our audience for tuning in as well. I think one of the things that's really cool is that you can actually catch our episodes. If you didn't get a chance to watch all of it, you can watch it on womenwholeadseries.com. all of our episodes are recorded, so you're able to do that. And then this episode is also going to be a podcast for our Audible individuals. It will become a podcast, and it'll show up in the next week or two. So you're able to catch that podcast on Google, Apple, or Spotify, wherever you have access to podcasts. As I leave you, I share this quote, which is so fitting for our panelists today, and it's from Margaret Thatcher. Don't follow the crowd, let the crowd follow you. And I see why there's so many followers that connect with you because of your vision and your passion. I really do. Please make sure for all of you to comment, like our page, join our YouTube channel, and join me back on September 21st, right here, right at this channel, when we zoom in on another team of great leaders. Thank you for watching the show. And please remember to always, this is my favorite saying of all, to bring other women up the ladder with you as you climb to the top. See all of you soon. Have a great week.
Thank you, Teresa.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, ladies.
Thank
you.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Good luck.